I wonder what the lowest I could get is. And then I'll do it along with him. Friends and family of Cardivox Academy, what's going on? It's a beautiful Saturday. Video's coming out a little late today because I had a birthday party to go to this morning. It was awesome. If you've ever seen that show, Wipeout, where a bunch of adults are just getting smacked around by big inflatable obstacle courses, it was kind of like that. Wish I got some pictures I'd show you. Today, we're doing Black Tongue, parting soliloquy. I have heard Black Tongue before. Never heard this song, or if I have heard it, it's been I don't really remember anything about it. But real quick before we get into it, I'm going to keep it super brief. I've got two really fun announcements. The first is that my boys in Apocalypse Pony recently just released a live music video. This guy right here, Michael Coleman, really awesome vocalist. One of my first students, one of my first official students, actually. He's come a super long way. He came into me with great vocal technique, had some issues with placement, a little bit of strain, but smooth sailing now. Anyways, the cool thing about this music video, other than the fact that it's a dope song with a bunch of dope dudes, is that yours truly makes an appearance. Yeah, I jumped on stage with them. It was a blast. So anyways, check it out. It's a great song. It's a lot of fun. The second announcement that I have, just because I'm honestly pretty excited. Nico, the guitarist for my band, Kardashev, was in Tennessee with Maya of Soundlayer, getting our album mixed and mastered, and it's done. So a lot of cool stuff. Here's a little clip of some of it, real quick. But anyways, Maya is a great dude. He's done our music since day one. Soundlayer always produces some really good stuff for us. But we're gonna jump right into Black Tongue. I'm gonna make a couple assumptions. The first is that we're gonna hear a lot of lows, and the second is that we're gonna have some down-tempo deliciousness. So let's go ahead and get into it. Alex Teyen, for those of you who don't know, is a really good vocalist. Love his tone. Well, he's got multiple sounds that we're gonna explore today. I think a lot of times people hear down-tempo, deathcore, and they think that it's just going to be really simplistic. And while it thrives on simplicity, there are layers of nuance in there that I think make these guys really good. But parting soliloquy, let's check it out. Beefy. Let's stop there just very briefly. So one really cool thing that you hear in deathcore, and we've talked a little bit about it, is when he started that scream, when he started that opening scream, he started with a little bit of just pure phonation, right? He didn't turn on the distortion until a little bit later. I'll let you hear it again, but I'm going to describe a little bit of how it starts. So basically, with our false chord screams, our vocal folds, if we're doing it like 100% pure false chord, our vocal folds are not involved. Right? But, you can start with vocal fold closure, and you hear that, and we talked about it in the Phil Bozeman video, but at the beginning, right? That's a pretty popular technique, one I actually really enjoy myself. And if you're looking to do that, it can be kind of difficult because you have to coordinate things. Vocal fold closure, no distortion. Vocal folds open, add distortion. If you want to practice this, the best way to practice it is not by singing, but by doing vocal fold closure exercises. If you have a guitar or a piano, you can kind of go along with different types of vocal onsets with any scale. So ha 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 ha, kind of glottal. Ha 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 ha, kind of aspirate. Kind of mixed, to basically just get used to the idea of coordinating your vocal folds. But anyways, that was awesome. And then afterwards, he had two layered screams, kind of like a mid and almost like a high tunnel. I really liked that, but let's keep going. Banana suit. That's a really cool thing too. So, there are other bands who do, the sort of the asides, the soliloquies, if you will, where they're almost speaking, narrating. And what he's doing there is a super breathy, distorted. You could almost even call it a false chord whisper. I watched you from across the lake. So like almost no compression going on there whatsoever, which is totally fine in this case because that's what you're going for, that sort of breathy, poisonous, intimidating sound. And then we've got a couple layers there, one dropping low, one staying kind of in the mid-range. Really cool. I love it. I mean, I know other bands do it, but it's cool storytelling. And if it sounds cool, it is cool, right? Added compression, so it went from I watched you to I watched you, narrowing that airstream so we get a little bit more of a roar. And I like his roaring vocal tone. Let's talk about that in a little bit, because I want to hear it a little bit more, but let's keep going. Drop. Yes. Yeah, so let's talk about this guy. One thing he's doing that I really love is he's not sitting in his lowest tone. Sometimes you'll hear vocalists do that. They do the whole song super low, right? But this guy, he kind of sits, at least so far, he's sitting in his like lower mid roaring tone. The way we're gonna get that roaring tone is by opening our mouth more, not doing the conventional closed chicken butt lips, and then pulling our tongue a little bit back. So like, for example, with a guttural position, right, our tongues are like that, very common knowledge. With a roar, you can sort of disconnect your tongue from the roof of your mouth, so no connection. Pull it back a little bit so it's more in the back of your mouth. That's going to turn it in more of a you see how that has more of a roar to it than a the shape of your mouth dictates a lot of that. And then he drops it down, and it's hard to see, but it sounds like when he drops it down, he's closing his mouth around that space. So super cool. You hear how he pulled to that high? Let's listen to that again, and let's talk about that, actually, because I've gotten a lot of questions about that recently. Yes! All right, so I get a lot of questions about, it seems like a commonality, and I've gotten this with my students too, like, I can only do lows, or I can only do highs, but I can't switch. Let's talk a little bit about that. That's a pretty big topic, but essentially the way that we need to think about it is we need to think about our lows and our highs resonating in different spaces, right? So for example, my low, if I'm speaking it, if I'm not actually screaming it, resonates right here, right? So very important, I'm not taking my larynx and shoving it down, right? You've heard, if you're into singing or you've heard of singing, you've heard of a neutral larynx. It's a concept we want to pull over because we don't want to be putting a lot of extra work on our larynx, or else we sound like, no, this is Patrick, right? So the neutral larynx plays a big part, and what I'm doing is I'm opening and relaxing down here, and then I feel vibration happening down here, right? The distortion happening up high, of course. When we do a high, we want to push it through our nasal cavity like this. Yeah. And you'll notice that if you put your hand kind of on your collarbone and you talk like this, like pretend you're shooting a laser gun and you go pew, 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 you feel a lot of vibration in your chest. There's your chest voice. Now, keep your hand there and do the same thing and talk like this. Notice I'm not putting my larynx up. I'm not talking in a higher pitch. I'm talking more nasally and go pew, pew, pew. You're still gonna feel vibration in your chest, but you're gonna feel your nose and your head buzz a little bit as well. So we're taking that point of resonance and we're moving it around. So when you go, hey, 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 that's essentially what you're doing with your metal vocals. So you can go and you can slide back and forth. That's essentially what he did, and he did it really well, and that's how he's able to move back and forth like that and accentuate those big parts of the song. So let's hear that one more time. That was pretty good. So good. You know, another thing he's doing that's kind of interesting is that he's finding a midpoint between the roar, that roaring sound, and that guttural low. And I can't see his mouth, but it sounds like he's doing that just with his tongue. So he's leaving his mouth in the roar position and then moving the tongue forward as if he's moving into that guttural. So like we talked about it a little. Guttural here. Roar here. If I leave my mouth, I'm just going to try it because I think this is what he's doing. If I keep my mouth open and then move my tongue forward. Yeah, see how it's kind of a cool halfway point? These are kind of the more subtle nuances that I think people miss if they're not into down-tempo stuff, although this has got some pretty fast parts. But I think these are some of the subtle nuances that people miss. Listen for it. You're going to hear him do it, especially around vowels. Well, I don't want to speak too far ahead, so let's just keep listening. But keep that in mind. Back to the narrating. Now this is cool because he's doing the narrating that he did at the beginning of the song, but it's not quite as breathy. There's more compressed. I don't know the lyrics off the top of my head, but at the beginning he was, yeah, right here. And now he's more, yeah, right there, like that. You hear how one's more compressed? It's not quite as compressed and pushed as like a normal metal vocal, but he's kind of doing it a little bit differently. Adding some flair. I love it. I love it. That's really important. Let's talk about, first of all, one of the reasons I really sometimes I like the down-tempo, less complicated stuff, is because it like feels like just like pure power. Boom, boom, ba-na-dum. It's like waves on the edge of a cliff. It's just pure like power of nature type stuff. And instead of like getting you jumping around the room, it's going to get you in sort of like a meditative state. And I really dig that. Also, we're going to talk a little bit about onsets here. We're going to talk a little bit about control because one place a lot of people will lose their compression is in the center of a phrase where the sound is. So it sounds like he's saying, death, take me home, right? But if you say, death, take me home, or even in one breath, death, take me home, you hear how there was that little skip and I had to like recompress? He says, death, take me home. Sounds awesome. You don't really notice, but he keeps that consistent airflow because he's not moving from compression to non-compression back to compression. Let's check it out. Now we're narrating with what sounds like full compression. Really cool. That's I when I hear stuff like this, I hope they did it on purpose. He had to have done it on purpose. Super breathy, a little bit compressed, almost sounds like full compression.
Across the writing,
that's neat.
On your monuments of life and death and time. And a cloak flaps blackly. My fingers map the lines across the writing on your.
Do you hear how he pushed the word writing up into his nose?
Writing.
He did it really smoothly. Check it out. Check it out.
For death and time. And a cloak flaps blackly. My fingers map the lines across the writing on your monuments.
Nice.
I wander the winding of life and death and time.
You hear this tone? We're going to talk about this tone. We're going to talk about this tone real good. But let's... Where was that? He only did it very briefly, but now I'm not going to insinuate that he was choking, but do you hear how it sounded kind of choked back? Okay, so here's a thought process you can go through when you hear a vocal and you wonder how the heck what is he doing in his mouth, right? So this is clearly that same roar tone as a bass line, right? So it's a bass line, but he's taking that roaring tone and he's augmenting it to sound choked back. So then our thought process is, how would I go about that roar tone and make it sound choked back? I will tell you. So that back tongue here, we're going to keep it a little higher. So instead of, we're going to go, so I'm making my jaw a little bit smaller, and you're not going to be able to see inside, but instead of like open and tongue up in the back like this, it's in the same curved shape, but it's more pushed up. So I'm basically pushing my scream over my tongue, which is creating a tiny little bowl in the back of my throat. Now, I'm not pulling it so far back that it's uncomfortable. My tongue is still very comfortable. I'm not straining it, but you hear that sort of choked sound? Let's hear it one more time. I went back kind of far, but who cares? Hear that? Oh, jeez. Dude's getting into it. Wow. was faking that. Yeah, so that's intense. Like this seems like a very legitimate emotional reaction. So this song must mean a lot to this guy. Wow. Let's talk about the vocal technique. So this, I mean, basically right here, what he's doing is it's a controlled yell, right? So it's not like the same yell that you would do in like a fit of anger. This is a controlled yell. Even though he's like rolling around on the floor, he's controlling it as best as he can. So we've talked about it before, but a lot of it's going to build on that belted, hey, lies! Right there. You hear that? So everything's relaxed. The diaphragm is pushing the air out. I'm not straining or constricting, and I'm letting the soft tissues up top control the distortion. Lies! Don't let me hear! Like that. Let's go back and hear it one more time. It's nuts. That sort of emotional honesty is what it's all about, honestly. Is the song almost over? All right. What the heck? Good Lord. Okay, I'm gonna level with you folks. Okay. Up until that point, I was thinking, I'm like, yeah, this song's cool. Yeah, I like it. I'll listen to it again. This was like the moment. Like this is the pinnacle of this song. Like sheer raw emotional honesty. Back into, we're just going to listen to it again. And then at the end, I feel like I can't go back and compare. Well, I could, but it'd be a lot of wasted time. But I feel like, he just brought his lowest low to the table just to put the song out. That is good. We're just going to hear that again. Good Lord. Wow. Did you hear how the word remain? He's very intelligible here. You can really tell what he's saying. Gods take me to the lake where the water remains. At least that's what I hear. Do you hear how on remains it got very thin? That's basically just bringing the tongue up. Remains. And when I do that, I've got my tongue most flat. Remains. Remains. Let's hear that again. That's valuable stuff.
Take me to the place where the water remains.
That's nuts. That's got to be the lowest low in the song. I mean, he's getting pretty low, and he's like,
Grace, take me to the place where the water remains.
Right, that's pretty low, but I feel like, I wonder what the lowest I could get is. And then I'll do it along with him. This is going to be fun. If I was to do my lowest low, let's cheat. Let's put the cheeks in there. That's probably about as low as I can get. That's probably the lowest I can do. Let's do it along with him. This is gonna be fun. Dang. Sold on Black Tongue. What a good suggestion. Yeah, so really great vocalist. There is one last thing I want to talk about. I know that I keep going over this outro, but there's just a lot of good stuff for y'all to hear about. The last thing I want to point out is that same phrase, God take me to the lake where the waters remain forever. You can hear him sort of shift the resonance even more forward in his mouth. So just kind of like a basic tone, if I go, that's kind of back. And if I push it forward,
Remain.
You hear the difference? So I'll say the word remain.
Remain.
That's in the back.
Remain. Remain.
That's my resonance shifted forward. And he slowly moves it forward for the word remain, and it sounds dope. So we're gonna listen to it one more time, and then I'll stop taking y'all's time. I appreciate your patience. Here we go though. Let's try to get a little bit more accurate with my time.
Take me to the lake where the waters remain forever.
Black Tongue, Parting Soliloquy. Very good song. Great suggestion. If you want to suggest songs as well, hop into the Cardivox Academy Facebook community page. It's free. It's fun. Everybody there is super cool. We have a lot of good discussions. Now, as always, we're going to end the video with the Cardivox Academy Facebook feature. So, 1 second, we'll pull it up. So, today's community feature is going to be a video posted by Jamie, a member of the Cardivox Academy Facebook community page. And I picked this one because what he's doing is he's playing around with like low and mid tones, but he's hitting a lot of really interesting techniques. You'll actually hear that at the very beginning of this video, that vocal fold lead into the low that we talked about, the closure, opening up to distortion. So he just hits a lot of really cool spots. Let's go ahead and check it out. He really does a lot of cool things. So, a lot of really cool stuff going on in there. Obviously, you've got some control over those vocal folds. Oftentimes, that's the hardest part. That's one of the hardest parts for people doing false chord vocals is turning off those, basically just having control over those vocal folds, and you're doing a really cool job. I also liked how you were closing up a little bit to create more of those like sounds. But honestly, amazing practice. You are doing super well. And I would love to hear some of these vocals like on a track, because I think you would absolutely kill it. Great work, great tone, great relaxation, by the way. I didn't see any stress or strain that I was concerned about, so keep up the good work. Anyways, y'all, as always, I appreciate you taking some time out of your Saturday to check out this video. I hope you liked it. I hope it was valuable. Black Tongue was sick. I'm going to try to find some time to do a bonus video this week. Honestly, just because these are fun and I like doing them and I want to do more. So we'll see if it's something that's possible. But beyond that, check out the Apocalypse Pony video. They're doing a great job. Other than that, many thanks. Much love. I'm out.